What's up guys, it's time for another FM Virtual Stadium tour, and today we are having a look round Chelsea Football Club's home stadium, which is Stamford Bridge. And as always, the first fact I have for you about this stadium is that it was opened in 1877. It's over 130 years ago, for those of you who can count. And I know for a fact that it was originally opened as a athletics track. So it was a great big oval with no roof on the top of it. So it was basically, if you look at current day NASCAR tracks, it would have looked similar to that, but not quite as big. And over the coming years, while it was still an athletics track, before Chelsea had even been formed, it was grown and grown, made bigger and bigger until it could hold an estimated 100,000 people, which at that time made it the biggest stadium in England, in London certainly. But as always, I'm going to have to say, you have to take those capacities with a pinch of salt, because in those days spectators were allowed to stand, they were allowed to be crammed in a lot tighter, which meant that you could get obviously a lot more people in. But as I often say in these videos with the older stadiums, since the Hillsborough disaster and since the Bradford fire, stadium regulations have been changed. Supporters have to be seated now, although this year plans came out for a new supported standing structures for lower league clubs, which meant that they would have to be regulated a lot more though, which meant the same disasters couldn't happen again. And I'm told that those sort of standing areas are used in Germany quite often, so they can get more fans in their stands there. But anyway, time for a short tour around the stadium. Here's the main grandstand with the huge VIP section at the top in the middle there. I know your eyes are drawn to it because mine are. And the two pillars on the side. Obviously this is not a 100% accurate representation of the stadium, but the game that I'm using, this is as close as it can get, because this is how the official designers have done the stadium. So all credit to them. I think they've got mighty close, for considering all the little bits and twists that they would have to put into the stadium if they were to make it 100% accurate to real life. But now I'm going to show you each end before I get on with a little bit more of the history of it. That's one end. They're tiny, I know. And there's the other end, and I know another fact is that they have to be that small because there are houses behind all of the stadium. It's very hemmed in, it's very cramped, which is why Chelsea have been looking for another site for expansion, but I'll get onto that in a little bit later as I come to the facing grandstand. Here it is. It's actually a lot sort of slimmer than this in real life. They've had to put it back a bit in the game, as I've explained before already. But in real life it's very tight, it's very close up, but that roof is extremely accurate if you get a look at it on the way round. That roof is extremely accurate to real life. But anyway, going back to the history, when Chelsea Football Club was founded, this stadium was already around and it was being offered out to football clubs in the local area. I know that it was offered to Fulham and they turned it down, saying that they didn't want it, they already had a home. So then Chelsea, it was given to Chelsea, and a fun fact that you should know nowadays is that the Chelsea Stadium is in the London Borough of Fulham, and the Fulham Stadium is in the London Borough of Chelsea, which is why they have such a great rivalry, and I think it's just a brilliant fact that, you know, they have stadiums in each other's boroughs. So that's just a fun fact. Over the years, various parts of this stadium have been knocked down and rebuilt, and knocked down and rebuilt. I even know for a short period of time, one of their main grandstands, they didn't have a lower tier. It was on stilts, so it started at the second tier. And I know I've seen pictures of it. It looks hugely unworldly even. And if you go and look at those pictures on Google, it looks absolutely hilarious. It looks like it's falling over the stand, in fact. But anyway, I'll get on now to Chelsea. In more recent years, the Abramovich era, they've wanted to expand the stadium out, and they've tried various things, which at one point even included putting bids in for the Earl's Court site and the Battersea Power Station site. Now obviously both of those are listed buildings in the UK, which means you can't do certain things to them, like demolish the whole thing. There are certain bits of it that you have to keep there, and I know I saw a few plans, they were up on the internet very temporarily, for the Chelsea taking over Battersea Power Station site, and it looked brilliant because bits of it they had to keep. They'd incorporated into the stadium they were going to build there absolutely brilliantly, and it looked It looked really weird, but good in it. But it looked really weird, but in a good way. That they were able to be that clever and get it in and fit it in like that. But they didn't win that site. They didn't win the Earls Court site, so they're once again looking for somewhere else where they can build a new stadium. I'll just go back to the fact that they can't expand this stadium because it's surrounded by houses, which means they haven't got any room to build out unless they bought all the houses and knocked them down. And I think they're looking into that as well. But being West London, each of the houses is like £500,000 in themselves, so they may as well just move out of London completely and build a stadium in a big green field somewhere. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. This has been my virtual tour of the Chelsea Stadium and a little back history to it. Please remember to go and have a look at our Facebook page and our Twitter account. We've even got a website now, and I'll put all the links in the description for you. Laters!